At the beginning of the 21st century, human evolution reached a turning point. Scientists theorized that, through natural selection, society would become increasingly intelligent and advanced. However, this prediction proved false. With humanity at the top of the food chain, the drive to evolve dwindled, leading people to grow lazier and less intelligent with each generation. The more intelligent, affluent individuals often delayed having children, pondering the significance of the decision so long that many died without leaving heirs. In contrast, less educated, poorer populations reproduced prolifically, passing on their traits, and each generation became progressively less capable. In 2005, at a military base in Washington, D.C., Army librarian Joe is watching TV during his shift when a superior officer tells him he's been selected for a secret project. Though Joe objects, preferring his calm, easy job, he is ordered to comply. The project's goal is to test a new human hibernation pod that would allow the military to preserve key personnel to awaken in times of crisis. Joe was chosen for his average status and lack of family, while a woman named Rita, with a dubious background, is also selected. She agrees to participate in exchange for a clean record and an upgraded pay arrangement. The plan is to put Joe and Rita to sleep for 1 year, keeping the experiment highly confidential. The following day, they meet in a waiting room and make small talk. When the scientists place them in the pods, Rita panics, but Joe reassures her. After they are sedated, unexpected legal issues arise. The colonel and Rita's handler are arrested, the military base is shut down, and the building is eventually demolished, leaving Joe and Rita's pods buried and forgotten. As decades pass, humanity's intelligence deteriorates rapidly, with societal issues worsening at a frightening rate. Overpopulation, illiteracy, and waste management spiraled out of control. By the year 2505, mountains of garbage had accumulated. One day, a landslide of trash jolts Joe's pod, activating it and sending it crashing through a window into the home of a man named Frito, who is oblivious to the chaos around him. Joe wakes, disoriented, and tries to communicate with Frito, who, annoyed, throws him out. Outside, Joe is shocked by the crumbling, trash-ridden city. People speak in a strange slang mixture that makes it difficult for him to understand. Eventually, he finds a hospital, but the staff is unhelpful, and the facilities resemble a fast food restaurant. Attempts to get water are futile as fountains dispense a sugary energy drink called Brondo. Joe's distress continues as he is misdiagnosed and charged an astronomical sum. When he sees the date on his medical bill 2505, he finally realizes he's been asleep for 500 years. While the doctor grows suspicious of Joe's lack of identification, Joe panics and escapes. On the streets, he sees the devastating state of society, buildings in disrepair, neglected infrastructure, and lewd advertisements everywhere. Seeking shelter, Joe attempts to get fries from a vending machine but is arrested by police who notice his lack of ID. At his chaotic trial, Joe tries to explain his innocence, but his words are ridiculed by the crowd. He is found guilty, and his lawyer, ironically, is Frito, who only cares about his broken window. Meanwhile, Rita, also awakened, attempts to navigate this absurd future, shocked by the strange currency and the nonsensical behavior of people around her. Joe is processed as a prisoner, receiving an ID tattoo that incorrectly labels him as not sure due to a misunderstanding. He's given a simple intelligence test, which seems effortless to him but stumps others. Finally, Joe manages to escape jail by tricking a guard and, along with Frito, sets out to find a time machine rumored to exist. Joe promises to start a bank account in Frito's name in the past, assuring him it would amass a fortune by 2505. As they flee from the police, Joe reunites with Rita. Joe forces Rita into the car, explaining the situation as they drive. Rita yells in anger, but their location is detected by street scanners that pick up Joe's tattoo. To make things worse, the car stops when the battery dies. They quickly get out and hide just as the police arrive, blasting the car and creating a scene that draws a crowd. After hours of walking, the trio reaches a Costco, a massive store now selling everything imaginable, even offering school courses. Frito, Joe's lawyer, had become one here. The store is so enormous that they need a shuttle to get to the electronics section, and while they wait, Frito makes crude remarks about Rita. Joe tries to stop him, but a scanner picks up his tattoo again, broadcasting his face across all the screens. Frito flees, leaving Joe to be surrounded and pepper sprayed by the police. Seeing this, Rita hides. Joe is taken to the White House, where he learns that his IQ test results make him the smartest person alive, leading the president to appoint him Secretary of the Interior. When Joe questions the decision, President Camacho arrives, excitedly announcing on live TV that Joe, now known as Not Sure, will solve the country's problems in a week and receive a full pardon in return. Though skeptical, the crowd cheers as Camacho convinces them with a song. They celebrate with a beer-fueled parade. During a cabinet meeting, Joe privately asks Frito where to find the time machine, but Frito struggles with directions. Joe asks to see the crops. Realizing they are dead due to poor soil and confirming this when they arrive at the countryside. Meanwhile, Frito secretly hands Joe a map to a supposed time machine. Rita is brought over, and they look at the map in private, finding it useless. When they return, Joe discovers the crops have been watered with Brondo, an energy drink. Joe argues for replacing it with water, ultimately convincing the team by claiming he can talk to plants and knows what they need. With Camacho's support, they work all day installing water sprinklers. That evening, Joe is offered a room in the White House, where Rita thanks him for securing her pardon. She offers to share the bed, but Joe declines, still believing she's a painter with a boyfriend named Upgrad. A few days later, an angry crowd gathers outside, furious that Brondo's stock price has plummeted, leading to massive job losses. Joe faces trial, and news coverage paints him as the villain. He's found guilty and sentenced to rehabilitation, which turns out to be a deadly monster truck event where prisoners must outrun trucks to survive. Chained to a rock, Joe asks Rita to find the time machine and tell people in the past to stay in school. During the rehabilitation event, which even Camacho attends, Joe is given a flimsy car with a soft decoration, while his opponents wield dangerous vehicles. After a series of close calls and explosions, Rita convinces Frito to record the growing crops as proof of Joe's success. She broadcasts it on all screens, showing the crowd that the crops are truly flourishing. The revelation sways public opinion, and Camacho announces Joe's pardon. At the celebration, Rita decides to stay in the future, as she's thriving here. Camacho names Joe his vice president, and though Joe initially wants to go home, he agrees to stay after seeing the crowd's need for his help. Frito then shows Joe the time machine, which turns out to be a simple carnival ride. Frito had lied for the money. Over time, Joe becomes a successful leader, eventually elected president with Rita as first lady. Together, they have 3 highly intelligent children, while Vice President Frito fathers 32 less bright children with 8 wives. In another pod, Upgrad awakens to a similar